This episode of Twin Speaks contains spoilers.
Sorry, I was saving it.
Hello and welcome to Twin Speaks First Watch, First Listen of The Irishman, starring Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Al Pacino, directed by Martin Scorsese, and written by Steven Zalian, based on the book I Heard You Paint Houses by Charles Brandt. I'm your co-host, Pat. You can find me on Twitter at KidCombo_, and I, of course, join my twin brother and co-host. You can find him on social media at Anemonio with Andrew.
I think it sounded like a fart.
Like one of those clear cheek ones.
No, it's the one where you pull your cheeks apart.
That's what I mean.
And it's just like build up and it goes. Those are the secret farts. We need to be stealthy. What's the best part about having a dog around?
What?
You fart.
Okay.
And it has to be quiet because I've never heard Murphy go. Burp.
Or
Yeah. So like, if you fart and you pull your cheek apart and you get one of those clear no cheek farts.
Yeah. It's like a gust of air.
Yeah. And then it smells and you go, oh, I better take Murphash. I think she's got to go to the bathroom. So
I gave her too many cookies.
She shouldn't get cookies now.
Oh yeah, she's on a diet.
She's on a no cookie diet.
Is that the only part of the diet?
Yeah, that's the big part of the diet. She gets a regular amount of food. She gets a bone sometimes. And then occasionally she gets part of my bagel in the morning. I'm just kidding.
What kind of bagel are you eating?
Regular.
What?
Yeah, because I'm making a breakfast sandwich. I don't want like a fucking raisin
You're not
bagel.
eating an everything bagel?
No. I'm sorry. The Western Family regular Western Family everything bagels aren't up.
That's all I was looking for.
Yeah, no. It's a nice Western Family regular plain bagel.
It's not regular, it's plain.
Regular plain.
You mean regular shape?
Sorry. Regular jet bagel. Regular shaped. No, they're actually like irregular shaped. They always look like they've been squished.
You think that you're eating
They've
a bagel,
always
but
been
it's just toast. It's
Yeah.
pieces of bread.
I was like, what? I don't think I've ever seen a square bagel before. It's like when you put a watermelon inside of a box and it comes out as a square or a cube.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Bagel.
Yeah, they just pack a bagel and they do like the tie thing, but then they stuff it inside of a box.
And it grows a little bit before it gets to the place.
Yeah. Anyways.
What are you talking about?
Bagels.
My head hurts.
From what?
Did you fart?
Why would that make your head hurt? Wouldn't that be you
Methane
farting?
gas?
Like you push too hard.
Yeah, right.
You're the host. Why are you asking me what we're talking about?
Aneurysm.
Yeah.
All right. Whatever. Did you watch this all in one sitting?
Yep.
Damn.
3.5 hours, baby.
I finished it
6:30 and I finished at 10.
2 hours ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah, 6:30 to 10. Yeah, I watched it. I was watching it that day that I texted you, which was, it was like 2 o'clock or something. I started it. No, earlier. But then I had to finish it. I had an hour left. And so I finished it when I got home today.
Matt and I finished it. Well, we basically went and got pizza and then we just sat there for like 3.5 hours straight and watched this movie. I think I got off like a couple times, but like for the most part, we were just like, we hammered through it.
Damn, what kind of pizza?
I think we shout out to Fernwood.
Oh, I got a discount for you.
I used one already.
Okay, well, you can have mine.
Well, I'm gonna have to send somebody else to get it.
What? They won't recognize you.
Because they just look at the email.
Yeah.
So
I can
like, if I
forward
show
you
them the
email.
same email, they'd be like, "Weren't you just in here?"
Yeah, true.
So
But no, that's putting a lot of onus for the people that work there to recognize
it's
every single person.
It's putting a lot of onus on the single person that served me
Yeah.
when I was in
Get
there.
Matt to do it.
You're not gonna go?
Shut up, Matt.
I already
No,
said his
I'm
name.
a standard pizza guy now.
I'm a standard pizza guy too, but like Fernwood was 20% off, so
Yeah.
it was way better than it was.
See, that's the thing. Well, not my good.
I left a review on Fernwood Pizza.
For a bad one?
No, it was a good one. It was
Oh.
before I had an issue. There was
Yeah, I
a
never
dumb
wrote a review because I feel bad about it.
Emily's
I think it was a one shot.
Emily's cousins were trying to get me to read out the reviews that I write,
No.
and I wouldn't do it. I was like,
Yeah, leave them
absolutely
hanging.
not.
It's like, you gotta find those bad
Although
boys.
one of the ones that was like a serious one was like the one I wrote for Board Game Cafe. And it said the best game of all is guessing how long it'll take to get a table for 3. Hint, it's more than an hour.
Would you give it 3 stars?
5 stars. Hey, if I'm doing a dumb review, I'm gonna go 5 stars. There was one I did for Canoe, and it's just ridiculous, dumb, long-winded review, and it was 5 stars. And Canoe Brew Pub comment, and they were like, "Thanks for your 5-star review." That was like
God
all they
damn
said.
I wrote one for Costco a while ago.
Some of them are like, "Wow, we appreciate you like taking the time
time.
to review or whatever." I'm glad you had a great experience. And mine's just, "Hi, Andrew. Thank you for your 5-star review," which is fair. I don't know how you're gonna take this at all. But yeah. Do you have news?
Yeah. Did you watch that True History of the Kelly Gang?
Sorry,
The trailer for the True History of the Kelly Gang?
the Kelly Gang?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Well, I'll describe it to you.
Do not describe a trailer to me.
Do you want to watch it live?
No. Well, yeah, okay. Well, I want to listen to it. Why don't you just pause the recording?
No, we're not gonna do that. So yeah. Anyway, we're not gonna watch that. So what'd you think of it?
We're not gonna watch it what?
What? What'd you say?
Oh, it's already out.
And
It's got 84%.
yeah, but it's only on like 18 reviews, and I'm pretty sure it's only playing in like Australia and the UK.
Oh, weird.
No, it's not out yet. It premiered at TIFF.
Oh, okay.
So that's where the reviews are from. Because then it's released in Australia January 9th, 2020, and then in the UK February 28th, 2020.
Looks fucking weird.
But I don't think it's getting a North American review or release.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. It looks really good, though. It's directed by the guy who did Macbeth and the Assassin's Creed movie, Justin Kurzel.
It's based on something in Australia?
Yeah, so it's written by Sean Grant, based on the novel of the same name by Peter Carey.
Yeah.
And the book, despite being called True History of the Kelly Gang, is fiction, but it's like a variation of the Ned Kelly story, who was like a cop killer lawman, kind of like ranger guy
Oh, that's
in
cool.
Australia. And it won the 2001 Booker Prize and the Commonwealth Writers Prize.
Yeah, sick.
So it stars George McKay as Ned Kelly, Russell Crowe, Nicholas Hoult, and Charlie Hunnam. But what I thought was interesting was that the director's Australian, right?
Yeah.
And then George McKay, the entire cast, so all 13 members of the main cast are all Australian or from New Zealand, except for Charlie Hunnam and Nicholas Hoult.
No, the main guy, George McKay, is not.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
He's English as well.
Yeah. But everybody else, it was filmed in Victoria, too.
Victoria and Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it looked really cool.
Looks good. Looks weird.
I read a review on Reddit, and there's a guy that saw it at TIFF, and he said it's super violent.
Yeah.
Like, surprisingly violent, but it was like a great looking movie.
Yeah.
Which would be interesting because that was the one thing with both Macbeth and, especially Macbeth, but with Assassin's Creed 2, as they both looked great. Like, they were good looking
This guy
movies.
do both those?
Sorry?
The director did both?
Yeah.
Oh.
And so this looks cool too. But, yeah, I don't know. I thought it looked interesting.
Yeah, it does. It looks wild.
Hopefully it maybe comes to North America or at least like on streaming or something so we could watch it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I thought it looked really cool. The
Yeah.
True History of the Kelly Gang is what it's called.
Yeah.
So it's based on Ned Kelly and the Kelly Gang, and there's like different there's actually like different stories, some movies of this story out there.
Oh, I didn't know.
There's even one with Mick Jagger.
What?
Plays Ned Kelly.
What?
It's awful. I saw like a clip, and it's like him in a courtroom, and he's like trying to speak with an Australian accent.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's really, really bad. Oh, I thought my thing was doing something weird there. Nope. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. That looked good. The next piece of news: Godzilla versus Kong has been pushed back 8 months.
Yeah.
To November 20th, 2020. According to the Hollywood Reporter, the film was originally set to open in March. Likely meaning that we would have gotten
a trailer by now.
Yeah, because that's only what 3.5, 4 months away. Like,
yeah,
that's not that much time. So there's no reason why, but it's like, I mean, probably just because they want to continue with the CGI, I guess. I don't know.
Well, who knows? Like,
because a movie like that.
But Godzilla and King of the Monsters didn't do very well, so maybe they're kind of reeling from that. I don't know.
And trying to set it up in a different spot.
Yeah, maybe. It could be anything. Like, well, there hasn't really been anything announced, like, as far as the cast or anything like that either.
No, and that's the other thing, too, is I only just found out who was in this movie. Because we've talked about this movie before.
Yeah.
I remember talking about it. I don't really remember what we had said about it. I know that we didn't talk about the cast or who was directing it. Because the cast, the main cast, Julian Dennison.
Okay.
From Where the Wild Things Are.
Right.
No. From Hunt for the Wilder People. Sorry. I always get those two names.
Yeah.
Brian Tyree Henry.
Right.
Alexander Skarsgård. And Demian Bircher. Which, if you saw a picture of him, you probably recognize him. He's like...
Try and show me from there.
Okay. He looks like every cop in every movie kind of thing. But he's been in
just
enough
like
movies.
Kyle Chandler looks like every army guy ever.
Pretty much. It's the cop version of Kyle Chandler. Fuck, it just accidentally... This is super interesting. You gotta fill time or something.
This is grade A content. Why is it taking you so long to find it?
Because I accidentally copied.
Did you not just click it? Like, were you not just looking at it?
Okay, images.
Oh my god.
There you go.
Oh yeah, I can see all 4 of those pictures from here, Patrick. Zoom into one of them.
All 10 of those pixels. There you go.
I don't recognize him whatsoever. The whole thing has been just a waste of time. That's not even somebody I've seen before.
Yeah, you would have seen it before.
Well, since you got it open, what else has he been in?
Not close enough.
We're pivoting this podcast to, what's that guy's name again?
Who is Demian? Demian? I don't know.
See, like that's the thing, is I don't even know his name. It sounded like you made this guy up and you're like, yeah, he's been in stuff.
Filmography. Oh, Godzilla versus Kong.
That is literally the movie we're talking about, you dumb fuck.
You know that. He was in Alien Covenant as Sergeant Lope.
Oh, okay.
Lope.
Let's pretend I knew.
Hateful Eight. Marco Bob the Mexican.
I literally have no idea who this guy is. It's like this guy picked characters that you never remember the name of.
Or you can make up.
Bob the Mexican is the most classic Martin Scorsese type character name too.
Isn't that Quentin Tarantino?
No, I know, but like it fits more with like,
for sure,
like
with his
Jimmy,
MO.
but
Jimmy
2
the,
big ears or something.
Jimmy
like,
Italian.
Italian Jimmy.
What's the other guy's name?
Mexican Joe.
At the end, he's like something the weasel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
literally.
I remember that Simpsons one is like Tight Lips. What's that guy's name?
No, what's his name? It was Tony
Tight Lips.
Yeah. Are you hurt? I ain't saying nothing. Well, what do I tell your mother? Tell her to suck a lemon. That was my favorite. That was my favorite Simpsons character that it only ever appears. He's not even in any of the Fat Tony stuff. It's just like every other one. It's like, tell you to suck a lemon.
I remember like when we saw that, it was like elementary school, and we used to tell everybody to suck a lemon.
No, we knew a guy named Brandon Lemon. Yeah, right. We knew a guy with the last name Lemon, and we told him to suck a lemon.
Yeah.
And then I got in trouble. They told us to stop telling him to suck a lemon. I was like, but it's his last name. It's funny.
Tell him to
it's
suck
not
one of
funny.
him.
It's not funny. He doesn't get it. It sounds like you're trying to get him to do something he doesn't want to do.
Yeah, so it's directed by Adam Wingard, who has directed Death Note and Blair Witch and You're Next. So I looked this up, but of his 10 previous films, so of his 10 films in his filmography that he's directed, all of them are horror movies.
Who's this guy, sorry?
Adam Wingard, the director.
What's he doing?
The director.
Of? What?
Okay, moving on.
No, what?
Of the movie that we're talking about.
Which is that?
Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah, I know, you fuck. I got him.
Okay. So anyway, they were all horror movies.
Yeah, cool.
So I don't know
I'm
if that
into
means that this is going to have like that tinge to it. I think that would be sick.
Yeah.
But how do you make I don't know. I guess the Kong movie was kind of like that.
Maybe it's Kong inside of his cave. You know, he's got his nice like furnished cave. He's got a nice bed. He's got doors, lots of doors.
He's got a nice ottoman.
And the entire movie is him watching TV, and he thinks he hears something, and he gets up to go check, and then he hears another thing, and he goes and checks, and it's just constantly him going back and forth between the doors. And at the end, it's Godzilla using his blue fire thing and just burns the cave down. Melts the cave.
Melts
That's
the cave, yep. Burns rock.
He just destroys the cave. My point is,
I thought you were saying he was going to have like a mental break.
No.
Like either you're going to go mental illness direction where he's like thinks he's hearing all this stuff and then he doesn't, and then he just like goes.
You said horror, and I was trying to think of like jump scares. It's like Godzilla.
Not the ultimate
Godzilla
scare.
is Mike Myers. Michael Myers.
Michael Myers.
Godzilla's Shrek.
What?
And yeah, Mike Myers.
No, I know.
Oh.
All right. Zac Efron to star in comedy biopic King of the Jungle.
It's a biopic about
Tarzan?
who? What?
No, I'm just kidding. King Kong.
No.
The film is about the journalist who covered the wild true story of rogue tech magnate. Sorry. John McAfee.
What?
I don't know. I put two words together that weren't together.
Yeah, what? I'm so confused on what you're talking about.
Biopic about John
who?
McAfee.
John McAfee.
Yeah.
Like
who
from the antivirus?
Yeah. Who cashed in his antivirus software fortune, left civilization, and moved to the jungle in Belize. There he set up a compound of guns, sex, and madness. So it's based on a Wired article written by this guy who like went to go and meet him.
Weird.
And then like wrote about everything that was happening. Apparently there's like a bit where he has like, because there's like a documentary about him. And apparently like he has his own police force.
What?
Yeah, he just made a police force. And basically he was just going around going like, hey, do you want to be in my police force? And the person would be like, okay. And he's like, okay, great.
But where is this?
Belize.
Wow.
Yeah. Apparently the documentary is really good because he's like insane. He's like super crazy.
Yeah, weird.
But yeah, so Zac Efron plays the journalist that goes to Belize to talk to him.
Apparently there's a YouTube video about, and it's him, and he teaches you how to hack the McAfee antivirus or something like that.
Oh, really?
Because he hates it or something like that. It's so weird. He's a psycho.
Yeah. So I don't know. This at one point, Michael Keaton and Seth Rogen were both attached,
Sick. But instead they were like
but they like changed their mind. That was like earlier this year too.
somebody more handsome.
Zac Efron. The journalist didn't like how Seth Rogen represented him, so they went with Zac Efron. Yeah. So Glenn Ficarra and John Requia are on board to direct, with the script by Scott Alexander and Larry Karaszewski. Oh, did you read that article about Uncut Gems?
No.
So Sacha Baron Cohen and Jonah Hill were both previously attached to star
Cool.
in the role that Adam Sandler has.
That'd be cool.
Apparently, Jonah Hill was even like announced to have signed on as early as 2017
Whoa.
to play him. So it was just like a random New York Times Magazine article.
That's
It was
cool.
like talking to the brothers, and they were like, "Oh yeah, like we were trying to get Adam Sandler, but then he like sort of was not into it or didn't want to sign the deal. So then we were like, okay, well we have to have a backup. So they started talking to Sacha Baron Cohen and then Jonah Hill and a couple other people who they didn't name. But then I guess like Adam Sandler then changed his mind. Apparently he wasn't into like the amount of sex and violence in the movie because he still wanted to like not go in that direction. That's crazy. I don't know.
Did you watch that video with like actors on actors?
No.
And it's him and Brad Pitt.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's really good. It's really good, and he talks about Quentin Tarantino a bit too.
Adam Sandler. Does he talk about the?
He doesn't bring up Inglourious Bastards, but he does kind of talk about it a little bit because like he just talks about like meeting Quentin and stuff, and like
he seems very shy.
He's a big movie fan.
Sure.
And like clearly like he really enjoyed like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and was like talking about that a lot and trying to talk about that and stuff. And like him and Brad Pitt are kind of funny. Like they just seem to get along. But like, yeah, it was weird. He didn't really talk too much about Uncut Gems. He just like, Brad Pitt was like, oh, it's amazing. Like, it's so good. Like, you're definitely going to be up there or something like that. And he goes, oh, I don't want to talk about it or something like that. He just kind of brushed it off so quickly.
Damn. That's too bad. I'm excited for that movie, though.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's going to be really, really cool. Did we talk about this? The Batman, they casted Carmine Falcone.
No.
Falcone. So they have John Turturro.
Yeah, this is sick.
So...
Should I just do the rest of the pod yawning?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. I was really Big Lebowski.
So a lot of people are still saying, like what you were saying before when we were talking about it last time, that like the amount of villains that they have is pointing more to Long Halloween.
Yeah.
I mean, them adding him.
He's in it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised now if that was like the whole.
We still need Calendar Man. We still need. Well, who else have they? They've casted. So we pretty much got.
So
Penguin.
we have Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman.
We have
Paul Dano as Riddler.
Yeah.
Colin Farrell as Penguin.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon, and Andy Serkis as Alfred.
Right. And then Carmela Falcone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only ones that are left are like the Joker and Calendar Man and Victor Zsasz. And that might be it.
Victor Zsasz would be cool because he's
also
the
in
new
Birds
Birds
of
of
Prey
movie.
Yeah.
Is what's his name? The guy from like Mindy Project and stuff.
Yeah.
Who's like a really good actor. I really like him.
In that other show with. Well, again, this is our
the
famous
Amy
segment
Adams
of-
one.
Yeah.
Was it Sharp Objects?
Sharp
no.
Objects.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I watched that one. It was really good. He's great in it.
Yeah, it is Sharp Objects. Yeah, he's good. But yeah, there's still like a handful of villains that they still have to cast. And I think the reason that they haven't done the Joker is because like
it's over.
They don't want to they might be just waiting for the Joker to stop running.
Sure.
So that they can kind of not confuse audiences.
Yeah, right. So maybe they're gonna wait till it's out of theaters, and then the hype dies down, and then they sort of go back up with it.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. Last piece of news: Martin Scorsese's new film, Killers of the Flower Moon, starts filming in March 2020.
Yeah, I saw that
Really
they had
fast turnaround. That's crazy.
I saw that they had a cinematographer on board, but they didn't, like, the literal quote was like, they were just trying to figure out like what the feel of the movie was supposed to be.
Yeah, right. And there was a guy like doing research
on what? Atmosphere. Like,
do you guys know that like the sun goes down?
Might have to take that into effect. Might have to consider that. Holy shit, it gets dark.
Does anybody know when it gets dark? Is it random? Can you imagine going your entire life not knowing?
You stay up all night. And we'll switch off. And if it's daylight when you go to bed, then we fucked.
Yeah, so it's based on the book of the same name, a nonfiction book. The film is about members of the Osage tribe in the United States who were murdered under mysterious circumstances in the 1920s, sparking a major FBI investigation involving J. Edgar Hoover. And it stars Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know De Niro was in that, too.
Yeah.
That's sweet. Oh, I was just going back to the Batman stuff. Poison Ivy, Mad Hatter, Scarecrow, and Harvey Dent Two-Face are still, like, characters that were in it.
Okay.
So there's still, like, a lot. I don't think they'll do all of those, but, like, they're definitely, like, subbing in some. Anyways, yeah, so that looks sick. Robert De Niro, I didn't realize he was in it.
Yeah.
Wonder who else will get announced that's always in these fucking movies.
Fuck, I don't know.
Nice, good idea. Okay.
Yeah.
Kyle Chandler.
Maybe.
Kyle
That
Chandler.
was so funny. He's not even playing someone, he's playing himself. You're just like,
Kyle
he's like,
Chandler
"Oh,
only
is it
plays himself.
Kyle
in everything.
Chandler? Yeah, that's it for news, though. Do you want to talk about the movie now?
Sure.
Okay. So, The Irishman.
Don't read it out. Don't read the synopsis.
No?
No.
The actual. Okay.
Because this movie,
Yep.
and I've had this conversation with a couple of people that have seen it, that it takes you 2 hours to figure out what the fucking plot is.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Sure.
let's try and piece this together. Okay, so the first bit.
Yeah. Well, the whole movie is from the point of view of Robert De Niro's character.
Yeah.
Telling, I'm assuming
Frank Sheeran.
Maybe, yeah. So his name is Frank
So
Sheeran.
basically, I think it's as if he's in the retirement home. He's now basically spilling his guts to the would-be author of the book that the movie's based off of.
Sure.
Is what I took it as.
Right.
Because he's narrating, he's clearly telling somebody what it is, and like all of Scorsese's movies are like this, where they have some sort of dialogue over the top.
And so Robert De Niro is Frank Sheeran telling this author, he's old, but you're sort of seeing his life throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And he's the narrator through the entire thing. So it's all from his point of view.
The reason I say that, like, because the synopsis is like the cheater's way out for this. Like, I feel like if you went into this movie and you read the synopsis, you'd be like, right, okay.
But then you watch it and you're like,
this is 2 hours of
Exposition,
Scorsese
almost.
jerking himself off.
Okay.
And then De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Harvey Keitel, whatever his name is.
What?
Harvey Keitel, whatever his name is.
Who are
He
you
was
talking
in.
about?
Look him
Al
up.
Pacino?
What? No, that's a different guy.
I don't know.
Did you not recognize who he was in this?
No.
So, like, when Russell,
Yeah.
when they first meet, and it's Ray Romano's in it,
Oh,
and they meet
yeah,
at the
yeah,
hotel,
yeah.
he's the other
guy
mob
with the
guy.
glasses.
Yeah.
Sure. Sorry. I didn't realize that's what his name was.
He was in, what's that Quentin Tarantino movie with Mr. Pink, Mr. whatever?
Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, he's in Reservoir Dogs. Anyways. And I don't mean that in like a negative because I really enjoyed this movie. It's just that there is so much in this. Like there's two different ways they could have done this. A, shorten it. Like it doesn't need to be 3.5 hours long.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of scenes where it's two characters clearly improvising.
Yeah. There's a lot of Al Pacino scenes where I thought he was improvising. Yeah. He just like figured out what the character was, and he's like, you know what, I'm just gonna run with it.
But De Niro does the same. Joe Pesci does the same.
Yeah.
And the other rival union guy does the same.
The big boy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, there's a couple characters that just, like, any scene they're in together, they're just, like, fucking rambling. And you're like, this is a 30-second scene that's not 2 minutes. And, like, as much as it's amazing and you really appreciate, like, how good these guys are at acting at their age, because they're all 76 to 80 in this, from, like, a inpatient, like, well, not even that, because, like, I sat all in one sitting to watch this movie. Like,
I did not.
I don't know. It felt like there's times where you're like, it didn't need to. This didn't need to. Anyways, going back to the plot.
I could have told you that, though, without watching the movie.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's... Come on. I mean, there's no reason why this movie should be 3.5 hours.
No.
Before you even go into it, if you're looking at this and you go, wait, how long is this movie?
Yeah.
It's 3.5 hours.
If you said 3 hours, you'd be like, shit. And then you'd be like, 3.5 is like, why?
That's almost 4. It's almost 4 hours. That's insane.
Yeah. So my other thing was like, this could have been a 30-minute episode miniseries.
Oh.
It's literally 3.5 hours. Like, you could have cut this down.
Yep.
We could have like 6, 7 episodes. Like maybe 6, and you have them a little bit longer, 45 minutes or something like that. Anyways.
And it would have been a great miniseries.
Yeah. So this movie starts for about 2 hours. It's just following Frank, his early life when he's in the war, coming out of the war, trying to figure out how to provide for his family that's not getting like bigger because he's got now like 3 or 4 kids.
Yeah.
3 kids? 4 kids? I don't know.
He has 4 kids. And it skims over the fact that he's like, yeah, I got this one daughter and she's great. Her name's Peggy. And then they're like, and then there's another one. She's like, well, I got to earn more money. And then all of a sudden there's 4. And you're like, what the hell happened?
Not only that, but even like his wife.
Yeah.
He's like, it's never a good time to leave your wife.
Yeah.
Except I did, and it was now. And you're like,
and I just did it. Actually, I did it a little while ago.
But that was a weird scene because they start the movie with like him traveling.
Yeah.
And you see her in the back. And then when it cuts to like him now, and you're like, that's not her. And then you see her later in the restaurant. And you're like, what the fuck is happening here?
Yeah.
So like a lot of this movie is just like it's building up like the world, which is fair.
Because it's very important to figure out
who does what.
World. Yeah.
You're like, okay, this is Ross, like Joe Pesci, and he is like the leader of this like mafia, whatever, but he really doesn't do anything. Like everything is done for him because that's just the way that he does things. Like every time he asks something, it's like, this isn't for me, this is for this guy, but I want you to do this. And then there's Ray Romano's character, who's Buffalini, who's related to Ross.
He's his cousin.
He's the cousin. He's also the attorney, and he's basically the mob attorney.
Yeah.
And then you've got...
Because he represents almost everybody that gets indicted.
Yeah. And then you have like Harvey Keitel, who's the... Or Keitel, whatever his name is, who is the other like mob guy who is just kind of there. He doesn't really have a lot to do with anything.
And they don't...
He also... he owns the rival laundromat that De Niro is going to blow up.
Yeah.
The thing with De Niro in this is that he's an idiot. His character is so stupid.
Yeah. The thing is too is like his defining quality or his personality trait, his character trait, whatever, is like that he's just ultra loyal.
He's ultra loyal.
Everybody.
He understands how the mob works and like how like what the hierarchy is. But he is essentially kind of just like a
Fumbling
puppy
through it.
dog. Like he
Yeah.
just kind of follows people around.
Yep.
And they're like, kill him. And he's like, you got it, boss.
But I think that's the point.
Yeah.
It's like
he's a
this
hitman.
guy, they literally took him on because they're like, no, he doesn't ask questions. He just does stuff. And they're like, okay, well, do you want to do that for me? And he's like, okay. And that's how then they sort of get into it.
So like, because there's a couple bits where like the one where he pretends that he doesn't know what happened to the meat that he sold.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a weird scene.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe.
Because then he's like, what do you tell? It's not in there. And he's like,
The other guy
the
the other guy's doing a great job of being like, I know you know.
Yeah. You idiot.
And he's like, don't know. It was there, wasn't it? Like, I just carried the truck. He's like, you knew the truck was light.
I guess the truck was a little light.
Fuck. And then there was like another scene where he was kind of playing dumb on something too, and like not even playing dumb, but just kind of being dumb. Like he's just kind of like that guy. Anyway, so like you follow that. It's them. It kind of jumps between like, okay, he's young and you figuring out him like getting into the mob and stuff, and he's doing odd jobs, and he's kind of just like, he was good in the military, but he was part of this like killing squad that basically just legitimately just murdered people. Like he was good at it and kind of enjoyed it. Like it seemed like he kind of enjoys it.
Enjoy it. He kind of talked about it in pretty high regard.
Yeah. And then it shows like how he got away with stuff because he was the Wild West. Like I don't get this at all. Like there was literally no cops in this movie whatsoever.
No, but that's the point. Is like the cops leave them alone because they are the cops. Like they've paid off all the cops,
but they don't
figured out how to get like away from the cops.
Do they say that though?
Yeah.
Do they? Because they don't. Do they even show cops?
Because there's a bit. No, I don't think so.
They just show the prison.
Because there's a bit and where he's doing his little narration and he's like talking about how he's working for this thing, and he's like, yeah, the cops leave us alone because like we're in there. Like we have that.
Yeah, maybe I missed that in the 3.5 hours.
Yeah, it's not surprising. So basically this movie is like kind of just trucks along talking about like his life, and then it starts pretty much breaks off into almost like two paths.
Yeah,
so it's like him working for Russell and doing stuff for Russell, and then getting involved with Jimmy Hoffa.
Yeah,
basically that's the other one. That's Al Pacino.
So like, but it does it in a weird way where like you see him working for Russ, and then you see Russ being like, "Oh, Jimmy, I have this guy. He paints houses.
Yeah,
I think you want him on your crew, and like we'll worry about that later." So he works for Jimmy for a while as his basically like bodyguard.
Yeah,
and then it kind of follows that, and then at some point it splits back into him hanging out with Russ again, and then it's like current. It's supposed to be like kind of like more up to date. Like there was like 3 timelines where it's like early, mid, in like the high time or something like that.
Joins into
and then it's him driving Russ from fucking Pennsylvania down to Detroit.
Yeah, or maybe even Philly. They're going to a wedding, and that's how the movie starts. It's like they want to get to this wedding,
but they're driving early
through.
They're driving and they're going early because they have to pick up money along the way.
Yeah, because Russell has all these
stops,
these places that he wants to stop at, and you realize that he's picking up money basically from all these different people that he helps or owns or whatever.
So the last hour of the movie finally just like latches on to Russ. And
it's pretty much
kind of brings
hour
in
on the dot, like from the very end of the movie. It's like an hour before that. Yeah. And all of a sudden, it's like, okay, now we're going.
Because a couple things end up happening where like, they have his like big meeting or whatever celebration with the union, like Teamsters and stuff.
Yeah.
He gets the ring, and basically Russ goes like, you have to make him like back off, like he's being a fucking asshole.
Yeah,
and if he doesn't, something's gonna happen.
Too much attention to us, like he's kind of gonna ruin our entire operation.
So there was that, and then there was, oh shit, I lost it. But like
The fact that he was like had this now fight with that pro.
Right. So he got out of prison.
Yep.
And then he basically went right back at it, and
Yep.
he had the fight with the other union guy.
Yeah.
And they weren't making up. And then it kind of sounded basically Russ was like, when we finally catch up, Russ sounds like he's going to try and like get them together to try and like work it out or something. They were going to bring a whole bunch of people together, try and like work their differences
Which
out.
I
Because
don't think was the plan. I think that's all Russ told.
Yeah. Because
what's his name, just to get him into that position.
and I think that the reason that that's the case is because when De Niro calls Al Pacino like Jimmy and like is asking him about the wedding, Jimmy said he's not going.
Yeah.
But De Niro thought he was going, and I think Russ already knew he wasn't going, so that if he killed Jimmy, then nobody at the wedding would be like, where is he?
Yeah.
They all knew that he wasn't going.
Yeah.
So then it starts to like, then the gears start turning. You're going, oh, okay, this is when
He had
they
this all
start setting
planned.
this up. Okay, so like,
So the big news thing that this is all based on, and that even the book is based on, is that Jimmy Hoffa was a big union guy, had mob ties. He disappeared. Nobody knew what happened to him.
yeah.
That
So
actually
then-
happened. That was the legit
so then-
thing that happened.
So in real life, Frank Sheeran basically started claiming that he killed Jimmy Hoffa. He knew all this stuff that happened. He could tell you the house that it happened in. He could tell, like, he started like listing out facts. It got put into this book, and I guess like I was reading a bit about it, and they said like some of it could happen. It's been too long, so there's not enough like evidence still there to say like that yes or no that it's still like possible.
And because even at the end of the movie, they make a comment about that because 2 FBI guys show up at his nursing home, and they're like, "Well, what do you want to tell us?" And he's like, "Nothing."
Yeah,
And they're like, "Everybody's dead.
like you
There's
can't protect
nobody
anybody.
else. Literally, nobody's coming after you. Nobody's gonna know like anything. Everybody who knew you is either dead or has forgotten about you."
Which I think is good. Like that's a good point. Is that like part of why I think he was so big in the mob and stuff was that like he was this loyal guy and he took his job very seriously and he was very good at it. But then when people die, who remembers what you did, right? Like it wasn't like he was bragging about it to the public. There was nothing in the newspaper. He wasn't big in the, like nobody knew who he was. He could walk down the street. They knew, oh, that's the Irishman, maybe. Chances are they probably didn't.
But if you were from a different city, you probably had no idea.
No idea. So this guy was just a stranger, and now he's just growing old because he's got no friends because either they're dead, he could have killed them, or they fucked off. Like
family,
because,
they
and
sort of
he's got no
fucked off.
family because of the career he chose.
Yeah.
So he ends up spending so much time trying to care for his family, but then like pushes them all away.
Yeah.
And it's such a sad scene when he's in the bank.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Because then he's like, well, what am I doing? Where do I go?
So it revolves, the whole movie is about him, how he killed Jimmy Hoffa and how Russ set it up to send him from
Where they were traveling.
wherever they were traveling. Like literally they were at a hotel.
Fly to Detroit.
They sent Frank on a plane. He drove out to meet Sally Buggs
Yeah.
and Jimmy Hoffa's son.
Yeah.
What was his name? Something
Chuck? I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. They then got from a car at this random house that nobody was.
Yeah. It's so
living
funny
in.
because I love when they get into the house and Sal is putting linoleum flooring down, but he's like trying to cut it only where you're going to walk in and see. Because like
It plays into-
that's where,
yeah.
And then you're like, what the fuck is he even, why is he putting flooring in? And then, because then, go on.
So then they pick up. So the three of them drive out to go pick up Jimmy, where him and De Niro had talked about meeting at 2.
Yes.
Because Jimmy's got this like fucking obsession with being on time or making sure that you're not late, but if you're late, it has to be by this much, and it can't be too much, and he takes into effect. There's all this fucking stuff about traffic and shit. And so he picks him up. They drive back to this house. They drop De Niro and Al Pacino off. They go into the house. He basically sees that it's empty, thinks it's just like a setup, turns around, and he gets shot in the back.
Yeah, and he kind of just looks around. And he's like, let's get out of here. He actually says that, and then he just like, Frank's like, oh, fuck. Like, I got to shoot him against the door now.
So the whole movie it sets up for this
scene
thing, and then it shows like what happens with the body after, who picks it up, shit like that. I think that whole segment could have been the movie itself. Mm-hmm. You could have done maybe short throwbacks. I love this movie. This movie's insane. Like, it's really great. It is worth seeing. But it could have been Scorsese's. Like, I'm never gonna do something like this. So like, it's easy for me to poke holes in this. But like, it could have been an hour, that hour, and then you have those flashbacks, including some of the backstory. But you don't need the long flashbacks. Like, you don't need the long conversations about nothing. And some of that's the stuff with Scorsese movies that he focuses so much on some of these montages that don't generally do anything. The montages where he's where Frank's paying off people in the meat locker. You're like, oh, you paid two guys. Mm-hmm. This isn't a montage. Now you're just showing me meat.
Yeah. Because then he's pushing meat down a rack.
And you're like, all right, great.
So the one thing I had read, or I've heard a couple times before, is that Martin Scorsese either has two avenues. It's movies that say something and movies that don't. And really, there's not that many movies that say something. Like, I'd say Taxi Driver and maybe King of Comedy. Because it says something about mental illness. And it's like a story. It's like a character study of these people who have this issue. And it's all about them. However, almost all of his other movies are just stories. They don't say anything. Yeah. They're just, this is a thing that happened. This is a thing I read. This is a book. This is all just things that happened. And here they are. That's what this movie is. Has substance, obviously, but it has no lower sort of below that, you know what I mean? There's nothing, if you dig past the screen, there's nothing behind it. It's just, here's a story about this guy who went missing. Nobody really knows what happened to him, but here's a story about someone who might have done it. And this is his life. Right. Here it is. However, the only thing I'd say that it does say is that our accomplishments and kind of just fade into history. We all just fade away. And that's, I think literally he's going through those steps at the end. Yeah. I think, and that's an interesting point, is that and maybe he's living this a little bit too, is I think if you said Martin Scorsese to a lot of people, he's had movies out and some, but maybe your general audience aren't really going to know, especially that more millennial Gen Z type age range aren't generally going to know who he is. So he is in fact kind of fading into nothing. Not really, but in a sense, his accomplishments as a director, as a filmmaker, are going to be very different 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. Which because is interesting. But that's exactly, and then he was the one that was kind of talking about some of these superhero movies too, because it's a similar thing. I was just gonna say, it's interesting that this is maybe this is sort of him saying that, where he's like, oh well, I mean, whatever. People just, that's it. Some people, the people that I really liked growing up, that I was watching movies of, nobody knows who that is anymore or who they are, which is interesting that it's on Netflix. Yeah, and that's what I was sort of the thing that everybody has, and that. When you log into Netflix, it's literally the first thing you see. And that may or may not work to his advantage too, because they're gonna push it. Mm-hmm. But again, if I'm somebody that's throwing on Netflix at the end of my day, I'm gonna look at that and go 3.5 hours. Absolutely not. I'm gonna start watching Grey's Anatomy again. Yeah, because or Office or The Office. It doesn't matter. But I think it's a weird thing for whatever that message is, it gets muffled in the fact that it's
out on Netflix, but also at the same time, just like the fact that you have these 80-year-old actors, you have this like fucking 100 and whatever year old director, making a movie about a guy who kills another guy who nobody knows about anymore. He even makes that sort of reference in the movie.
To the nurse. Yeah, he's like, "Oh, do you know who Jimmy Hoffa is?" And she's like, "No."
Or she like kind of pretends like she
like,
does,
"Oh,
but then
him." She's like, you don't know who he is."
Yeah, which so that's interesting. I think it was kind of
because that would have been
neat.
a big thing if because people in that age would have known who Jimmy Hoffa was, and his disappearance was like huge. I mean, like they were talking about it on the news. Like that would have been a huge news story.
Yeah,
and for him to be like, "Oh, this guy I was like best friends with, who I was like his bodyguard, and then like fucking his advisor."
Yeah,
it's like nobody even knows who it is. So now I've lost my sort of my sense of character or sense of self and worth because this person who I was measuring myself with is now gone.
Well, yeah, and then like the only guys that even know that what happened to him would have been Russ, who died.
Yep.
After going to prison, and then Sally, who died because he got shot by Frank, and then those two other guys that cremated him, who were just nobodies.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think like I actually sort of like in hindsight, I think now that I'm saying it now, like I do kind of enjoy that. That's the message. Kind of the like what's resonating with me a little bit, but like I think it maybe just was the way that it was done type thing. That's the thing with this movie is I really, really enjoyed it. And I think like looking at it as like the acting, the cinematography, the dialogue, just how a movie would look or act or whatever. I love this movie, and it's got to be like one of my favorites.
So we got to talk more because we've been talking a lot about what's in the movie. Yeah. Let's talk about what we thought of it.
One of my favorite, because it's not a very Scorsese movie.
No, and that's interesting too.
I think
it is.
When I
but
think
it's not.
Scorsese, I think a little bit more like it's zippy, like things are like happening type thing, and this isn't like that. It's very methodical.
It does happen bits in the beginning. But for the most part, yeah, you're right. It's methodical. Because like him with the meat locker, and he's like talking to the mob guys, and you hear like the voiceover.
He's
and the
mostly a silent character too. Like yes, he gets talked to, but like I don't think he says all that much. A lot of the dialogue comes from like Russ instructing people or Pacino fucking just rattling. Like Pacino just motored his mouth the entire time, which I thought was great because it was really cool to see these guys act again and like act in a movie together and clearly see that like they had not lost it at all.
Yeah.
Like Pacino is so good in this.
So it's interesting.
He also looks not as old. So like
not as old as the other two, because even De Niro is like getting up there.
Well, so this is maybe like a tangent, but like some of the CGI in this, because like the big deal about them de-aging.
They were de-aged, yeah.
And I had kind of seen this, or like was listening to another podcast talk about this, and like they were kind of saying like it's weird because you de-age the face, but you can't de-age the body, and it's weird in the sense that like Robert De Niro has like the big blocky head, but I just watched Casino, and he's like. This like he's in peak De Niro. He's skinny, looks tough. Like he's got like his head's a different size. Yeah. Like he's like 40-year difference, and he's got a giant head.
It was like after I had finished, or when I had stopped it the first time, I was like telling Georgia about it, and I was like, it's so weird though because you look at their face, and it's like they've very obviously made it like they've tried very very hard to put makeup on and make him look. I don't even think it was
like CGI too much as much. It was just like smoothed out.
Yeah, they just maybe smoothed out the creases and stuff.
Yeah,
but all I could think about was like, but he moves like an old man. He like there's a bit where he's like he shows up to the meat locker. I think it's like one of his first days maybe, and he's like getting the little lock thing, It's like a zip tie or whatever.
Yeah.
And he like goes to the counter and he's like, the guy's like, oh, it's too fucking cold. And he goes, nah, not for me, man. I love it. And he kind of just like punches his thing. He goes, let's go. And then he goes like hardly. It's like the snail's pace away. And he goes,
Well, so like
it's like
there was that,
my God,
but there was
you're 80 years old.
There's scenes where they're walking upstairs.
Yes.
Like the scene where, and this is the funny thing, is that like it's the one where Pacino like where Jimmy Hoffa gets shot. Pacino hustles up the stairs.
Yes.
He jumps a few steps. He's like at the door.
Yeah.
And Robert De Niro's like way after him. But then there's the one where he throws the guy through the window when he beats up the shopkeeper.
Yeah.
And he's just like kind of stomping this guy into the curb.
Yeah.
And he's just like, you're like, he's very frail.
Yeah. And
you're like, he's very
there's
old.
like just even like little tiny bits where he's like, he'll get out of his car and he'll cross the road.
Yeah.
And it's like the way that he crosses the road, you're like, that guy could fall. Like, he could trip over and fall.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah. But this movie, like, I really, really enjoyed it. I think there was a bit where I was like maybe an hour in and I texted you.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is really good. Because that's the thing. It's like the acting kind of just takes over.
Yeah.
You sort of like, you're into the story and the story's really interesting. You're right. It is sort of like bloated, a little bit bloated. But then
bloated,
you're
but
like
not at the same
so
time,
focused.
but I know what you mean.
You're so focused on De Niro just being De Niro. And he's like amazing.
Yeah.
And it's like, honestly, it's like one of my favorite movies by him because it's sort of a different aspect of him.
It
it's
is
like,
different. It is
like
different.
Being
it's not
sort
like
of classic De Niro without being classic De Niro.
And I think it's because he looks not how he's acting. You know, like he's acting like you would expect him to act, but at the same time he looks younger. And I think like once you kind of get past the initial like jarringness of the face, you sort of go, okay, this is what they're all gonna look like.
Yeah.
Joe Pesci looked so old.
Yeah.
Joe Pesci is skinny old. Like he's skinny as in he's like
very small.
He's not holding weight like I just saw Casino and he's a plump boy in that movie and like he's just not in this and you're like, God, I hope he's okay.
Yeah. He was so good too. Like,
I think I was looking and Pacino's the oldest.
Yeah.
But you would never guess it. He is a spry young man in this movie. He's just bouncing around in this. He's flinging his hands around. He's getting upset about the time.
So he was the only
79. Yeah, he's the oldest.
He was the only one that I found that I didn't have the same, because with Joe Pesci and De Niro, your brain kind of takes a second to realize that they're not that young.
Yeah.
You know, you're kind of looking at the face and you're going, well, the face looks weird. Like, it's almost like Uncanny Valley in a way.
Yeah.
Where it's not necessarily the eyes, but the face is telling you different from the body. And, like, looking at De Niro, you're like, yeah. But then you look at Al Pacino and you're like, I'm all in. Like, I don't know what they've done differently. I don't know if they've even done anything.
Well, that's was my thing, too, is that, like, if they have, it's more subtle.
Yeah.
And I even think that Joe Pesci was slightly more subtle as well. But something about De Niro, it's the eyes, too, I think that were weird, too, because they made his eyes, like, way more blue when he was younger.
Yeah.
Or when he's supposed to be younger.
Since 1998, Joe Pesci's only been in 3 movies.
Yeah, well, he technically retired.
Yeah, and then one of them was like a voice, so I don't know if that counts. Yeah, I thought Joe Pesci was amazing. Al Pacino was amazing. They were just both like, they were all sort of just classic, like, I think that was part of it. It was like you weren't really, I wasn't expecting them to be good. Yeah. I was just expecting to be like, okay, yeah, this is going to be like a jerk off thing from their own, of the 3 of them.
Yeah, like
plus
them
Martin
celebrating
Scorsese.
each other.
Yeah,
thing.
really like, yeah, we're really like the golden age of acting.
Yeah,
we still got it kind of thing. But then they were good and it was like that much more enjoyable. Like there's a scene where Frank realizes that he's going to have to like kill Jimmy Hoffa and they're like sitting in the hotel, not even the lobby. It's like the cafeteria or something. There's a fruit fly or something here, and he's like, Russ is like talking to him and telling him this, and all you see is Robert De Niro's face, and he's like on the verge of tears.
Yeah,
and it's like
they're
a really sad
looking at
scene.
each other. Yeah.
And Joe Pesci's like, well, like, I know what you're thinking. I know how you feel. And you can see De Niro, and he's like trying.
Even Joe Pesci kind of like
really
looks,
hard not to cry.
Even Joe Pesci kind of looks sad, but you really feel how sad De Niro is.
Yeah, it was
that,
like I was like, fuck, man.
They're supposed to be like best friends.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I don't have much more, I don't think, but like it's. I think. Would you recommend this though? Like, would you tell people that?
Again, I would recommend it in breaking it up. Watch,
Yeah.
and I think you could actually conceivably break it into 3 parts if you wanted to. So go, an hour maybe to like hour 15, and then take a break, watch it the next day or whenever you have time, and sort of treat it as not like a mini series, but just chapters.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good way because I went in. I stopped
like,
at about 2 hours. That was my goal.
Yeah.
And then I went and I started it again, and it was like, oh no, I remember what's going on, because I stopped it pretty much right after the gala. So after he gets like his little award, and then he gets the ring, and he finished talking to Jimmy Hoffa, and he's like telling him, he's like, you should get guys because they're gonna come at you, and he's like, fuck that, I'm not doing that. And then it was like kind of a nice break, and it sort of just went into like the next scene.
And I think you can because the plot really doesn't pick up.
Yeah, until really that hour bit.
Yeah, if you understand that Joe Pesci is calling the shots on everything, even when you don't think he is, and even when it looks like Al Pacino is, he's not.
Yeah.
And then when stuff starts to get away from him, then that's when Russ really reels in, then you're fine.
Yeah.
Because that's really all that you need to know before that.
I really like this movie. I would definitely
too.
recommend it if you want
Yeah.
sort of like, I don't know, how would you describe this in terms of Martin Scorsese? Like sort of a Departed kind of style, I guess, where it's a bit snappy but has that narration. But then
I don't
it's
think
all
it's
about like the mob stuff, so
all.
it kind of gives you like a bit of like the not even like,
it's like,
but it didn't glorify mob that
I think
much.
it's a slower
slow
casino.
burn. Yeah. Sure. Okay. Yeah, sure.
Because I'm trying to think of like other ones, and it's like a little bit like Goodfellas. Maybe more so like Ray Liotta's character, but like in how like it kind of like
yeah. Because then at the end he's like, oh, I like got out, but I fucking hate it.
Yeah, and that kind of shows what Frank looks like at the end, but then more like Casino in the sense that like it's more about like the world and character building than it is like the violence and the shit like that. So like,
what did you think of Ray Romano?
I thought he was great.
Yeah.
He doesn't get like a ton of play, but like
I think he was fine.
I think he does his job in the sense that like you don't want him to break the scene, like he's Ray Romano and this is Robert De Niro and this is Al Pacino.
Yeah,
and this
he
is Joe
blended
Pesci.
super well through the
and
entire
you don't
thing.
want
and
him
like,
to be.
He's the cousin, but he's also kind of like the younger cousin that they they need because he's the attorney.
Yeah.
But also but then like there's a bit where Joe Pesci's like, "What are you doing? Stop touching that."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Get out of here."
Yeah. So like I liked him. I thought he did exactly what you'd want him to do as a character like that, or just an actor like that too.
Anna Paquin
isn't really in it all that much.
So she is. So the big thing was like
there.
they were criticizing the fact that she has like no
almost
lines.
has no lines.
She has like maybe 5 lines or something.
Yeah.
So the only reason that I was like, yeah, it would have been nice to like hear her as an adult because as a kid she has no lines. She has maybe again 5 lines as a child.
Yeah.
But part of her character is that she's like shy and kind of and she doesn't trust anybody.
Yeah,
and
I got that.
And
But
she's
then
like
just
scared of her dad and stuff. But then it's like Anna Paquin, she's just there. She's like kind of has no lines, and it's like this isn't even like a matter of sort of a like why would you have the only like real sort of big female actor
Academy Award winning.
Yeah.
Actor
Have no lines, but it's more like why not give her lines? Like,
I think
literally for the
and,
character's
like,
sake,
maybe that's just because
give her something because it was like it would have been more interesting. That's all I'm like.
And maybe that's just like the way that the daughter's written in the book.
Could
like,
be.
That's
Exactly.
the thing is that like
that was the only thing I was thinking. She must not say that or be involved at all in the book.
Yeah. Because it's
it'd
not
be
exactly
weird.
the like most involved father either, right?
Sure.
Like,
And it'd be weird if she was involved in the book,
but
she
then
had
didn't
a big
have
role,
lines.
but then didn't in the movie.
yeah.
Like that would be even worse.
Yeah.
What did you think of Action Bronson in the movie?
Again, didn't really steal the show, I think, which was good. I think like it's
same.
enough where you're sort of like,
Yeah, I agree.
you're like, oh yeah, it's Action Bronson. Like Matt and I were watching it together, and like we were both like, oh shit, it's Action Bronson. And then we were kind of just like waiting for something to happen, and you're like, oh no, he's acting.
I was waiting for him to be bad.
Yeah, and then
I don't
he
know if that
wasn't.
was-
And then you're
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, so sorry, this is you continue whatever you're doing,
Yeah.
man. Like, and then after he's off screen, Matt goes, how stoned do you think he was?
I don't know.
And like you try to look, and he's like, he just has like permanent beady eyes.
Mm-hmm.
He really can't tell, but he actually was good in it. Like that's the kind of like cool part is that like,
It'd
you're
be,
like, oh shit, that's Action
pretty
Bronson.
wild that like one of your first. I mean, I don't know how many movies
Is
he's been in.
Scorsese.
Is with Scorsese, and you're sharing the scene with De Niro. That's pretty wild. But yeah, I thought he was fun. I thought he was good. I was like, that's Action Bronson. And then he was like, kind of wasn't really riffing, but kind of like he's like, well, what about the green one? He's like, that's like $7,400. He's like, can you do any better? He's like, look at it.
He's like,
You're going out in that.
yeah. He made some comment about like you're going home in that or something like that. And he goes, I can do 6. And he goes, I'll do 6 or something like that. And you're like, okay, this is sick.
So yeah, oh, the computer fell asleep. Come on. Oh, unless it died. Yeah. So what did you think?
I just told you what I thought. The last hour.
Hold on, let me just make sure this is not actually dead. I'm gonna leave all this in. Test. Hello. Okay, we're good. Oh well, would you? I mean, not in the sense of like what you think, but what's your rating?
Probably 6. 6 out of 7.
Yeah.
6.5 maybe even.
Yeah.
The thing is, I did really enjoy this movie. I think like the asterisk next to it is just like nobody should ever have to sit
For 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours to watch a movie.
I know. Some
like,
people
you have to commit so much time to it, and I think maybe that's the draw of him going to Netflix with it is that he can make a movie this long because Netflix probably was like people will just turn it off and then they'll come back and they'll finish watching it.
So I forgot who I was talking to. So it had a budget of 159 mil.
Yeah, so I don't understand how they make that back.
Yeah, because the box office, because it was in theaters,
Box
it was
office made
playing
like
here.
2.
Sorry,
It was like $2 million or something opening weekend.
6.6.
Right.
Because it was playing here at Cinecenta. It wasn't even playing at the major theaters that we have in town. It was playing at the university one.
I think that's pretty much what it's been like.
I think they just fucking bagged it from like
Netflix. Could be. Like, who cares?
So yeah, I mean, same. To be honest, like 6 out of 7, 6.5 out of 7. The movie I found was just super enjoyable. I loved all of it. Yeah, it does give you a lot of information as you're going.
Yeah.
And I can definitely see how someone would find that boring. However, this is just the movie that I enjoyed. Like, this is the type of movie that I like.
Yeah,
it's like, it's got a lot of dialogue. It's got a lot happening.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information.
It's good
It
acting,
feels
good
like you're getting
cinematography. Like,
yeah, and it was a beautiful movie. The CGI was like distracting in some parts. I don't think it's a turn off for me. Like, I sort of just got past it. I was like, this is just how they look. Whatever. Like,
would you have rather them just cast
younger people?
Yeah, like Looper. You know, like how they did like Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Bruce Willis.
Maybe.
Like maybe they do like like a Leo or like they could do like Zac Efron or Dave Franco.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? Was it Neighbors 2?
Oh,
When
yeah.
Dave Franco's doing
Talking
his
to me?
Robert De Niro impersonation. And he
Yeah,
goes,
right.
"You talking to me?" Oh my god, that's a favorite scene. Yeah, just get Dave Franco in there, just like extend the size of his head, and he's De Niro.
Yeah. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yikes. It's offensive to Italians.
Oh, yeah. And I love that the bit where he shoots Sal. He's like, oh, hey, Irish.
Yeah.
And he's like, poof. He's like, poor guy.
Yeah, but he was a scumbag too.
Yeah, he was.
That whole bit about him and the fish. He goes,
yeah.
"What do you mean you don't know what fish it was? Did you just take a stranger's fish?" He goes,
And then he's like,
he's
don't
like,
worry,
"I
we
just
cleaned it up
didn't
for
know.
you."
Okay, somebody bought it. I didn't buy it." He's like,
Yeah.
"You didn't buy it? So you just picked up a fish?" He's like, and then he kind of like settles in. He's like, "Well, maybe that makes more sense."
But then he's like, oh, don't worry, man. There was a fish in the back, but we cleaned it up. I cleaned it up. He's like, you cleaned it up? He's like, yes, sir. I cleaned it up. And he's like, have you ever even
No,
caught a
and then he
fish?
goes, "Who the fuck is this guy?" And then he goes, "Have you even caught a fish?" And he goes,
Nope.
"No." And then he goes, "Can you even see out of those things?" And he goes, he's like, "I can't see shit."
Yeah.
I love Sally, even though he's a scumbag.
Yeah. Choke the guy because
And then
he
he-
changed the radio station.
And then he's trying to like give him life advice about having fish in his car.
yeah.
And it just reminded me of when they were in the courtroom, and
Yeah.
he's like,
And he goes, you always rush a guy with a gun.
Rush a
If
guy
he's
with
got
a
a
gun.
knife, step back.
"You run away if you
yeah.
run away." And then he starts
And
rhyming
he's like, to review.
it to review.
Rush gun,
Gun,
run away, knife.
knife. Oh, it was fucking.
He was great. Yeah, he was
so
really
in
great.
this. What do you give it?
Yeah, 6.5 out of 7.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like
Yeah.
it is a lot to handle, and like if I had to watch it all at once, I think that would have affected my
Yeah,
review.
same.
But because I was watching it on Netflix, I split it up. Like I didn't have all the time to do it all at once. So
I mean, I think in hindsight, I probably would have maybe should have broken it up, because I think that kind of like it really made me like want to sit and think about it more. Like I think if I broke it up, it would be easier to digest a little bit. But like
because I did that.
because I watched it all at once. The next day, I really didn't have like an opinion on it. I was like talking to a buddy, and I was like, I honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
And not in the same way as like the Joker. It was like a lot in the same way of like, or just in the way of like, it's so much information that you just start trying to like slug through like a little bit. So like today, I'm sort of like, okay, yes, I did like it. This is what I liked about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yesterday, I was just fucking like,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways,
Cool.
I think that's it.
Yep. Yeah, that was Twin Speaks. First watch, first listen of The Irishman. You can follow me at @KidCombo_ on Twitter. Andrew at Antimonium. Get on us at Instagram at Twin Speaks Pod. Yeah, thanks for listening.
Yep.
That was a bit of a slog. This one's a longer one too.
Hold on.
Well, that makes sense. The other one was short too.
Yeah, and there's a weird shit in this one, so we got to cut some stuff out.
Yeah. Do we know what movie we're doing next? That Marriage Story is on Amazon now.
Marriage. Oh, it is? Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Marriage Story.
That might be a
Knives
good one to
Out.
do. That one's getting a lot of buzz right now too.
Knives Out.
Yeah, Knives Out. I sent you that big list too.
Yeah.
There's a lot right now. And then like Star Wars is in a couple weeks too.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Thanks for listening.
Bye.